Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Welcome, everyone, to the LURNIST Show, broadcasting live to you today from the Phoenix Business RadioX studios here in Tempe, Arizona. I'm your host, Deborah Hildebrand, and for the next hour or so, we will be talking about education, ed tech, and related topics with our special guest. I also want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, the LURNIST, which is the place to go if you are an instructional designer or business owner who is either developing or looking to develop an online course. It is also the place for organizations or companies looking to create an online training course or program. If you follow me on social media, you know my background is in project management and teaching project management at several universities. So at the LURNIST, I teach course creators and instructional designers how to manage the course curriculum development process as well as the launch of any course. You can find out more by going to thelurnist.com. That's TheLurnist.com. So I'm really excited today to have our guest, Andy Rahden, the CEO of ShmoopShmoop, on with us. Thank you so much, Andy, for joining me.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
So I've been reading all about Shmoop since we booked you on the show, and I'm really pleased that you're here today. So why don't you take a moment to introduce yourself to our listeners and share a little bit about yourself, or a whole lot about yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. I always think of myself as boring, but then I start talking. I think I'm a little interesting in certain ways. So raised in Chicago, I lived in Los Angeles, California for a while, moved to Salt Lake City. You know, over the last, I went after getting my mechanical engineering degree in college, I realized right out of the gate that I didn't want to be a mechanical engineer. I worked for a company called Baker Hughes, awesome company. I just sat there and was designing things and realized, oh my gosh, this isn't for me. So as I was kind of progressing through my thought process on what to do next after spending 6 years getting a mechanical engineering degree and going through the pain of doing so, I was like, what am I gonna do now? And so as I was thinking about that, one of the things that was happening in the industry is 3D design was becoming more of a thing. All the engineers I was working around at Baker Hughes were designing still with pencil and paper in some cases, and they were also using, 2D design tools like AutoCAD. They weren't really using any cutting-edge design techniques, and it was so boring. It was just super boring. And so I started leaning back on some of the things I learned in college, and some of those things were things like SolidWorks and Autodesk Inventor and other things that were kind of coming to market. And so I found myself all of a sudden working for a company training people how to use 3D design tools. So I was training the baby boomer generation on how to use upgraded technology, which was really challenging. It was, and so I all of a sudden learned how to train somebody, how to teach somebody something, and it was super awesome when you sit there. In that time, it was an in-person class, and you would sit there and you would teach people about how to use a new piece of technology. And when the light turned on, it was always such a gratifying thing as a teacher to be able to do that.
Right.
And so eventually I found my way into sales, into selling the products. And then I finally found myself into different leadership roles. I moved into Autodesk kind of at the time when Autodesk was starting up its manufacturing group in Lake Oswego. Spent a lot of time in Oregon, as well as in San Francisco where their headquarters were, and built up that portion of the business. And over time, I mean, that manufacturing portion of Autodesk business is now half of what Autodesk does in revenue. I think they do about $3-4 billion in revenue now a year, and it's pretty cool to see that legacy behind me. One of the challenges we had when I was there was we were buying all these companies, all these new technologies, and training came up again. So training people how to use all these different technologies was pretty challenging at scale. There were millions of customers, and Autodesk was using resellers to train in person. But how do you train people when the software is changing every 3 months, every 4 months? And so we started looking at different training providers that could help us out. And one of them was just a couple doors down from where I live. There was one of the founders of Pluralsight working on building stuff. And his name was Aaron Sconard. Aaron was really one of the founders of Pluralsight. So we started talking about how Pluralsight could start investing time in the design industry. And so I and Aaron got together in San Francisco at the Four Seasons. And we were sitting there talking about what it would mean to start the business. And so we started Pluralsight Creative LLC, built content. So I had to learn how to build training content online. Worked with MIT LearningX's platform to understand things like voice fluctuation, how many topics were taught per minute, how long a video should be. And we built thousands of videos. So the course content was typically about an hour to 2 hours in length. And they taught anything how to use Photoshop all the way to how to design in Autodesk Revit. And Pluralsight still has that content today. So it makes up about half of Pluralsight's content on the platform. And as we progressed, things started to grow and to progress forward. And eventually we found ourselves facing an IPO and making that decision and to go into IPO in early 2018. It was a crazy experience, coming on at Pluralsight with it felt like just a few employees in a small space to all of a sudden opening up new buildings, new locations in Boston, India, London. My days at Autodesk, I had global experience. I would travel weekly to Japan, to South Korea, to China, to London, France. I mean, I don't even think there was a country I felt like I didn't hit over a 10-year period while I was there. And so it was just this, it felt like the same thing all over again as we were at Pluralsight. And so super exciting time. And really decided, the path forward in my career was I just wanted to continue to grow and progress, and ran into a couple by the name of Dave and Ellen Simonoff, who were the founders of Shmoop, and decided that I would, talk to them a little bit about what they were doing. Ellen was one of the founders of Yahoo. And she also was the CEO of companies like Efficient Frontier that sold to Adobe, and there were dozens of others. And Dave was, really he's a brilliant portfolio manager, just a brilliant finance guy, and awesome, amazing people. Super impressed with who they were as individuals and their desire to give back and learn more about Shmoop. And the rest is history. So I decided to come on over and move down to Scottsdale, Arizona, and that's where we reside now. We're here in Scottsdale. I love to play golf, but I never get to play. So I'm hoping that I can eventually play a little bit more. Even Ellen's daughter's on the Princeton golf team. I've been offered a few rounds and still haven't taken her up on going. I'm going to show the horrible side. I used to play competitive golf. So in high school, I used to play competitively and travel around the United States and loved it. But with work, I think I'm just addicted to work and progress. And so that's what I do now. I'm a doer. I consider myself an entrepreneur. I'm super passionate about the people that I work around. I think it's awesome to surround yourself with just brilliant, progressive people, and that's what I try to do.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I see you and your team on social media, and it's really fun to see you guys, and your culture. And we'll talk about that in a little later. So I'm really excited to have you on today.
Thank you.
You have a very impressive background. I'm a huge fan of Pluralsight. It's
great company.
And Shmoop. Now that I've educated myself on Shmoop,
both great companies.
It's a beautiful site. Yeah. So what is up with the name Shmoop? What does that mean?
Isn't it an awesome name?
Awesome.
It just makes you smile, right? It's
a happy name.
It's kind of like when you first heard Google or Yahoo. You're like, who thought up that name? Like what happened? So Shmoop is actually a Yiddish term, is where it came from. And so it means to, nudge somebody forward or help somebody progress is really what it means. So the concept of it has a deeper meaning, but it is a super cool company name that we follow, and it's awesome. We as soon as we came in and we were redeveloping the platform, the question came up, like, do we keep the name? And the answer was, of course we keep the name, right?
Oh, you can't get rid of that name,
it's an awesome name, and it has a lot of meaning to a lot of students nowadays, and so it's more relevant.
Good. You have about 16 million.
Yep, 16 million active users on the site.
Great.
It's awesome to see the progress
fantastic.
there. Yeah, it's come a long way.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So let's talk about who uses Shmoop. Teachers, how do they use Shmoop?
Yeah, there's a few different ways that teachers use the platform. So anything from things like we call teaching guides, which are encompassing things like assessments, lesson plans, student resources for helping them build their curriculum. We have teacher resources, things like classroom management, assessment help, professional development, homeschooling tools, We also have like how would you approach teaching from classrooms today? Thinking about things like cyberbullying, help with dealing with things like that. We also offer test prep for over 35 AP tests. So most of the AP tests, if all of them, would be inclusive on Shmoop to help both the content be utilized in the classroom as well as actual test preparation for taking those tests, which my own kids are involved in doing here locally at Chaparral High School. ACT and SAT help. We even have things like if you wanted to learn finance, if you wanted to take the Series 6, 7, 63, or Series 65 exams, you could be prepared in high school to go take those exams.
No way.
Yeah. So
no way.
We offer those things as well. We feel like we give students the benefit of the doubt in the fact they're brilliant. Kids today can take so much more information in, I feel like, than my generation could. The way technology has changed and evolved just allows them to have the ability to digest so much more quickly. So the tools are there, but they have to have that foundational knowledge as they progress forward. So I'm all about technology. And that's what I've been in my whole career.
Right.
But when it comes to the platform of knowledge and the knowledge base that they need to be able to read and write, those things, those foundational aspects are, what they can gain on the platform. So we help teachers that way. And then there's thousands of online videos that teachers could use in the classroom. They're funny. So we have humor behind all of our content. And humor has been the way that is the catalyst for engagement for us, up to this point. We're going to add additional things as we progress in 2020 and 21. But yeah, that's how teachers think about using Shmoop today.
That is awesome. So many tools. That's fantastic because teachers work very hard.
Yep.
And any kind of help you can, and that's great. I love that.
Yeah, I think it's impossible to, with all the knowledge and information in the world today and all the subjects that surround each topic that's being taught in school, it would be impossible for one person to, just in this conversation as we've had today, like it's really hard to remember all the different things that you have to go approach. And so you need resources and tools to really encourage what to teach.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of ideas and concepts out there that could be helpful. But when you really want to compile those things together and provide actual helpful tools for teachers, we really do that for those resources, with those resources for teachers. So we're excited about that.
That's great. A one-stop shop.
Yep.
I just go to Shmoop and I got it all there.
That's right.
I love it.
Yeah.
How about teens and students?
So this is, when you think about the product inherently and how it started to be built, this is who it was built for, which is really rare.
Right.
Most companies start with a concept and idea of we need to make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And as a result, we'll maybe help or fill certain solutions or gaps as we progress forward, right? We went completely the opposite way. Our founders were very successful, and they did it as a passion project to help students. And so the concept of how Shmoop was started wasn't inherently to make money. It was really intended to help students progress forward. They felt like, the concepts of, when you think about students in the inner city and students who are very privileged and some of both and mixed all over in between, the concept of being able to help all students progress and level the playing field for all students is really what was one of the passions. The other thing is, as they were thinking about that and thinking about students, they wanted to create an engagement model where students thought it was interesting. So we created all of our content with that aspect of humor that would keep students engaged. So today, students they can use us for homework help in a crunch. If they're we have these things called study guides on our platform, and maybe you're reading 1984 in high school, and you didn't read the book, in time, or you didn't get through the whole thing. Some of our students would. The funny thing is that some of our students would look at this as like, quote, cheating. We don't look at that. In fact, if you open most of our study guides, there's more written content in the study guides than there are actually in the book. There's more pages of content. Are you tricking them? So yeah, we are. That's exactly. It's like putting vegetables in their food or blending it in so that's what we do and it's a brilliant way of approaching it. So it's right. Not cheating at all. We're really teaching them what they need to do to get the outcomes that they desire on their grades, so that I think in essence their parents are happy.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of students out there that don't have access to education, that want it, and they just don't have access to the information. And so we're providing that as well. We'll prepare them for any course they need, help with essay writing, planning for college. They can also receive college credit on Shmoop.
Really?
With ACE accredited courses, and so they can do that. Career preparation we see as a big thing with the landscape changing of how individuals go from the classroom into the world, and sometimes collegiate directions aren't applying, and so there are a million ways to be successful. And we've heard those from anyone from Steve Jobs to other successful entrepreneurs in the world that, I think we just have to be accepting of the fact that there are multiple directions to be, quote, successful, whatever that means to whoever that is, right? But we want to help students move beyond the classroom into the real world, and we want to give them the foundational knowledge that they need to go do so as successfully as possible, whatever direction they choose.
I agree because, not everybody learns the same way, and the structured university environment isn't for everybody.
Yep.
It wasn't for my husband, who's very successful. It wasn't for my son, who's doing really well.
Yeah.
And so, was for me. I'm have a graduate degree, all of that, but
I had to. I needed the structure.
Right.
And for those that need the structure and the direction, which I needed. I was one of those kids. You have to have certain grades to get into an outstanding university.
Right.
And, still today, hopefully someday in the future, ACT scores won't be as relevant. But,
there has to be some measure, though.
There has to be a
right?
measure, and that's the measure we use today. And so we help students prepare for taking those exams. I think,
which is excellent.
You walk in and go take the ACT test, and most kids don't even know what to expect when they walk in the room. My daughter's about to take it to this year, and I asked her, like, do you know exactly what to expect when you walk in the room? Do you know what to do the night before? She's been studying it for a while. You have to prepare for success, right? And we want to give them all the tools and resources that they need to be as successful as possible. So if that's the direction they go, I still support that direction. I want my kids to go to college. I have a few
Everybody
friends that have decided to go different directions. They're still super successul. I want my kids to go to college, and I want them to go to the best school that they can, and I want to see them progress. So they need the help, though. They need the help preparing and progressing. So that's what we offer them.
I agree. Yeah, I'm a college person too, obviously. Yep. So but I think it's different for everyone, and I think it's great that you have resources for all different learning models.
We do. Yeah, for sure.
It's great. Okay. And last, what about schools and school districts?
Yeah, so obviously everything we talked about is applicable for schools and districts. If it's helpful for a teacher, it's going to be helpful for the school. But really there's certain things that schools and districts are that are important to them. Some of those are going to be testing scores and standards, right? So this is how in some cases funding's provided for institutions to be able to progress, and the rich get richer type of mentality. And so we can help those schools and districts improve those test scores and those standards by implementing Shmoop into every classroom within the school. And we do so by, again, leveling the playing field. So all of our content that was written, although it comes, there's humor in it, and we come across as a little bit of an edgy and fun company, we vet our authors in a pretty rigorous process. And our authors are PhD grads from Stanford, Princeton, and other Ivy League schools that we feel like have a certain caliber of education, but then also need to be able to speak a certain voice. And so we're pretty picky about how we go about using them. Putting that level of content into the classroom, it just changes the dynamic of a school. It really does level out people's access to information. And when you provide that to the students, they just latch onto it and love it. So schools and districts use us for that. The content has been built to scale, so you can spread that across the classroom. Some states buy us as well. So states would be purchasing it for all their districts and all their schools for access to things like ACT content, SAT content. It would also be using it for AP. And they would be thinking about, most of all from that level, an outcome. So what are the outcomes of the students, and how are they progressing forward, and what are the measurements of those students? And that's something that we're going to continue to expanding on beyond ACT and SAT as we kind of continue forward in the platform. But yeah, that's primarily how those institutions use us.
That's great. So that's I'm assuming that's part of your business model, how you make money. Are there other ways that you make money?
Yeah, there are. Money is essential to run anything, but yet it's still, if you could just take it out of the picture, it wouldn't be the most important thing. And that would be awesome, but that's not the world that we live in.
Right.
It takes money to build technology. It takes money to do amazing things. So, we make money obviously from parents, buying the product for their kids, or students buying it for themselves. We make money from teachers directly buying it for their classroom. So there's a lot of teachers that have just come to us and asked it just for their classroom, which you wonder, like, how does the purchasing process work there? And there's ways and easy ways for teachers to actually gain access to the product for their individual classrooms if they're desirous to do so.
Okay.
Schools and principals are purchasing from us for their institutions. States, as I mentioned before, they're buying us virtual schools. So there's a lot of opportunity for kids to decide where they want to go, whether that's a class in their local district or whether that's a school that's online. And there's a lot of online options today. So we provide content to a lot of those virtual institutions today that are using our courses and test preparation in their current curriculum. So
that's fantastic.
It is. It's really cool to see that being applicable, because those institutions in many cases have pretty high standards. I think Shmoop can be misunderstood by a lot because we have humor in the product, and so it might be looked at as like, oh, they're not very serious about learning or whatever. That's absolutely not the case, and so those high level institutions are using us as well. Homeschool teachers and parents. Yes. We have applications directly for those individuals, and that's super helpful. That's even something my daughter's looking into for her senior year, just because she's going to be taking more college courses and things that way. So it's a great option. And pricing starts at $15 a student, so it's accessible.
Really?
Yeah, it's accessible for really everyone.
Right, I love that.
It's a good option. Yeah,
that's great. And it's, accessible to people who wouldn't normally get it in a classroom because it's online now. It's great.
Yeah, the price point makes it, if you were like writing an essay, this might be a little bit overboard. It might sound overboard, but this is reality for some people. So if you're, and I didn't believe this until I saw it firsthand, you're preparing for an essay, you're in Silicon Valley, and your parents have millions, if not billions of dollars, and they want you to succeed on your homework. What do? They go and grab a couple Harvard graduates with maybe 1 or 2 PhDs. In some cases, those people might not even be in the States, so they'll fly them in. And they'll have them sit down and help you with your homework once, twice, 3 times a week, and then they'll fly them out. And that's what's happening with privileged kids in the world today. People don't have access to that kind of, like, I'm not flying anybody in from anywhere. Or, this is happening in the world today. So I'm not against, if I were the parent with that kind of resource, I would do the same thing. I would do it. So, but it's not real for everybody else to be able to do this. And so we want to provide that same level of education at scale. And like for $15 a month, that's what we're doing.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's less expensive than even taking like a basic level ACT prep course, right? So the concept for us is, we really feel like, while not free resources aren't always the best resources.
Right.
The concept of free, there's a lot of free stuff out there, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when we were at Pluralsight, one of our competitors or people used to ask us, like, what are you going to do about YouTube, and so, it was the same thing. There's a lot of free, there's free stuff out there, right? Can also say there's a lot of free SHIT, but like the concept of stuff being out there is definitely free stuff, but we're creating content that is next level good, right? So us providing that, we're not going to fly out the Stanford graduate for your kids, but we will provide them access to content that's been Stanford graduate written.
Right.
And that's awesome because you get a whole new insight and a whole new perspective. I wish I had it, when I was in high school. I would have I would have been able to get myself through without as much pain. So it's awesome.
That's great. I love it. And that's really, I like the price.
Yep.
Yeah.
We do too.
Okay. So When was Shmoop started and why? I think we covered the why, but what was it like in the beginning?
So Dave and Ellen Siminoff, the Siminoff families, anyone from like Jamie Siminoff, who founded Ring, the doorbell company, into like Ellen, the founder of Yahoo, and Dave, like just a brilliant. I wish he was here with us right now. Like he's crazy. He's crazy awesome. They just being super passionate in 2008 about education, in wanting, when you look at the educational system over the last 100 years, how many things have really changed? Like my kids are still bringing books to school, right? So I look at that and I think about the technology landscape, and I barely need my laptop anymore. Like I almost just use my phone. So I bring my laptop because there's certain things I can't do on my phone, but I only end up opening it maybe, every once in a while. Most everything I do is on my phone. So it's crazy that, the educational system has progressed as slowly as it has. And we just, when you look back 10 years ago, it was even worse 10 years ago. And so Dave and Ellen really just felt like there needed to be investment made from an entrepreneur perspective. And I felt really the same. At Pluralsight, we were using some of the most cutting edge techniques to develop course content and curriculum. And we're doing that professionally. But when you think about the school system, nobody was really providing cutting edge development into how products are created. And as I've gone to different conferences and things have been talked about, concepts, like brilliant concepts, brilliant people, but to be able to implement that technically into not just a website, but into inherently what the product does and how it helps kids progress is what we're thinking about. And so we do have competitors out there that have awesome websites, but the concept of really inherently thinking about how a student digests information and how we could do that from not just an ed tech perspective, but from a professional development perspective, and applying that into the school system is what we inherently are progressing forward. And so Dave and Ellen started that with some of the same thoughts. Early on in 2009, I think the first 50 study guides were created. And then by the time they got to 2010, there were over 1,000 study guides, which are really helping kids. In 2014, they started getting recognized as like a best in class in education. They started being recognized as a top curriculum provider. The best ed tech for districts, I think, was another one that they received. But by 15, there were over 10,000 videos created, and by 2018, there were over 16 million active users. And so things just continue to progress. We still have a small company feel, definitely. We're still a small business. We're all entrepreneurs. We're all passionate about what we're doing. So we keep that, and we'll continue to keep that no matter how big we get. But yeah, it's from the foundation. I think the goals and the things that we're trying to accomplish are still very real, and we have a long way to go. The business was probably started early when you think about like its ability to impact the education system. And I feel like it's just starting to become relevant today. So yeah, a lot of work to do.
11 years later.
Yep.
Wow.
Just getting started 11 years later.
And the kids change every generation, right? The way they learn, the way they
think
take
about all the technology in the last 10 years. It's crazy. I mean, just my career in the past 20 years has been just a roller coaster of change. So you've got to keep up with it. And anyone can. I look at even my grandfather, who one of the scientists on the atomic bomb project, the concept for him, for Christmas last year, I bought him a rapid prototyping machine. So he's a mechanical engineer. He's, in his late 90s.
Wow, that's cool.
And he knows how to rapid prototype stuff. Like it's super cool. You don't need to stop learning and gaining progress. So that's what we're all about.
Yeah, that's cool. And I want to say it again. I think it's great that I think it's okay to charge, because you're going to be continuing to innovate for teachers who can't do it themselves, right?
Yeah.
They have a lot to do with, they got a lot going on with what they're doing. So I think it's fantastic that there's someone like Shmoop out there doing that for them.
Yeah,
so,
for the level of education we're trying to provide, we really have to charge. I think if we wanted to just provide stuff for students, we could probably figure out different methods of progressing. But if we want to create the best quality scenario, at a pace that's going to evolve,
Right.
it's really necessary.
Yeah, to innovate, you have to. I agree. But you're not charging a lot. So.
Nope.
Yeah. Okay, so there seems to be a lot of activity at Shmoop. What can we expect as teachers, students?
There is tons going on at Shmoop. So as we stepped into the end of last year, we released a whole new front end experience of our website, and so that was starting to think about the most early inclinations of UI UX design and thinking about who we were as a company and what our goals were for the next 10 years and how we move through and progress education as we progress forward. So yeah, you'll see a whole new, some people don't even, it's funny, like things don't pass downstream until, way later. So a couple of people came to me like a week or two after we released it, like, oh, like you have a new site. Like, yep, we got it. It's been there for the last week. And so weekends go by, people come in. But yeah, the other thing that we're releasing is our users are gonna have a really enhanced experience on the back end starting the end of this week.
Wow.
So we're going to start releasing new back-end navigation experiences and a new homepage and login after you log in experience, so that we're going to start affecting how people use the product in a really good way. And then kind of leading into that, we're excited about how students and teachers and districts will use the platform moving forward. But thinking about like even further out in the future, Shmoop is working on something really groundbreaking and exciting for the year. And so we won't say exactly what it is from a competitive standpoint, but
keep us on our toes.
Yeah, we can talk about it. We can talk about it later on. But it's been a discussion.
We'll have you back.
This kind of goes back to that discussion point in education for the last 5-10 years. When you think about the ability to gain insights on students, I would say it's borderline non-existent. This is something that is really important to understand where a student's at in order to help them progress forward, not just from an assessment perspective, but where they're at holistically. Everybody wants to know where they're at so that they can help and coach kids, but it's pretty challenging to actually, articulate that information and to gather it. So Shmoop's partnered with a company called Digital Promise. Digital Promise is a great company. We're going to utilize, they've been working on collecting millions of different data points on students and how they learn, and the ability for us to truly accelerate the environment of education and to improve the opportunity for all students really becomes relevant with a partnership like that. So we're going to be able to provide our teachers and the principals and the parents a really great overall view of where the student stands, and then be able to help them coach the parents, teachers, and students themselves on where they should invest their time to continue learning. And not just from an investment perspective on one topic, but from a holistic perspective on the whole student. What's their social status? How much sleep did they get last night? Things that will really influence our ability to impact the student and help them truly gain progress, not just the A on the next test, but truly gain progress in their educational progress overall. So very excited about working on some of that stuff, and we're going to be releasing some of that in 2020.
Wow, that sounds amazing, and I love data.
Yeah, yes, very important.
I know. Yeah, I've worked with a lot of data analysts, and it always just astounds me what they can do. So
it's amazing when you mix the right data and the right assessment technique with brilliant content. Because we have a lot of the above, but you start mixing that together and you start providing insights on where you can go. We're not only going to be able to direct students where to go, but we're also going to be able to help them progress through where they go. So we have all the content. We own 100% of our content. So we didn't, that's one of the gifts and benefits.
You own all of it.
We own all of it.
Wow.
Yep.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's great. Amazing. Okay. So how do we get started at Shmoop?
Super simple. Go to the new website, go to shmoop.com, ShMoop, and you can click right on the middle left-hand side of the screen. There's a Get Started button. And that Get Started will bring you into one or two directions. One, you might be a teacher or a principal, and you might want information. There's a form that you can fill out on the site and provide that information, and we can reach back out to you. Or you can also email us at sales@shmoop.com. If you're a parent or a student, even easier, go to shmoop.com, click on Get Started, and you can literally start with a trial. There's a free trial there for you to start with, or you can dip right into the $14.99 a month price point and just move right ahead. And that's a great way just to start learning about the trial. Will really give you some exposure to what's on the platform and how it can really help you, and start creating some plans. When you're preparing for something like the ACT exam, you probably don't want to think about that the night before. That's one maybe you do. It's not like your typical, maybe essay or something that you would need to cram for. And so we suggest, about 3 months of lead time on starting to prepare for something like that. And we feel like that'll be your best outcome, if not more. And you can start creating certain goals and learning goals for yourself as you progress forward, which becomes really important in life afterwards, because you should never stop learning. So that's true. Yeah, that's something that we help them do. But yeah, super easy. Just shmoop.com and you can follow the links there.
Okay, so if I sign up as a student for $14.99 a month, I have access to all the materials, everything.
Yep.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is.
And what kind of things can I expect to accomplish with that?
There's a lot. When you're thinking about improved outcomes in school, I think that would be probably the biggest thing that you're investing in yourself or your child when you're buying the platform, or for your class. So the improved outcomes being better grades, better test results, because you're either more engaged or you're just more prepared for what you need to do, progressing forward. Like I said before, imagine being coached by that PhD level, Stanford grad or Princeton grad, and having access to that kind of information. It really gives you an edge in school. That's what we're doing, is we're providing students the edge that they need to progress. Improved ACT, SAT scores. I think that's another expectation. You should, you spend the time investing in learning certain things, you're gonna realize better results. Being more knowledgeable and prepared for the college landscape, what to expect when you actually go start applying for college, how to apply for college,
how to get ready to apply for college.
Yeah,
right?
Where financing might come from, all those things. Well, what your first day of college would look like, getting college, getting college credit before you even go to college is something else that you could expect. I think being more prepared for a career and a job as well are things that we actually teach. We have courses on our platform. I wish I had this when I was just starting my career. We have finance courses that teach students how to read a balance sheet. What an RSU is. If you don't know what an RSU is, which it's amazing how many adults don't know what an RSU is, what a stock option is and how it works, how to analyze your company's growth and choosing a company and where maybe you should work versus where you shouldn't work.
That is so cool.
Those are things that we have on our platform too. So these are all, anything from life preparedness to actual applications in the classroom are things that you should expect after utilizing Shmoop.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I love that. So not only prepare for college, but prepare for work.
For work, right. For life, yeah. You gotta work to eat and to live. So you can't always live on love. I wish you could, but that's not reality. So
okay, so let's switch for a little bit and talk about your organization. So like I said, I love watching you guys on social media. It looks like you have a great culture. Can you tell me more about the culture at Shmoop and what a person can expect if they wanted to work there?
Yeah, I think, the words that come to mind are edgy and fun and things like that. We're definitely all those things. We joke around a lot in the office. We have a lot of fun. We have an office here in Scottsdale, Arizona, and we have an office in Lehi, Utah. Okay. So we're dual located. We also have presence in Los Altos, right in the middle of Silicon Valley, where it was started. The definition of, I think, people there is what make up the organization and company. The concept of being hardworking isn't just a phrase, but everybody's really committed. When you're running a business, there's always challenges that come up every day. There's a new challenge, a new frustration, and there's a couple ways you can deal with those challenges. There's, one, just straight out giving up and walking out, which sometimes you might feel like doing. We have people that are committed to overcoming consistent challenges and then celebrating the success when those challenges are overcome. We have a gong in our office. So when good things happen, not just when a sales happen, but when good things happen, that gong's rang. And there's just a lot of camaraderie and spirit that kind of comes along with winning. And we've been having a lot of wins lately. We've also had, with all those wins, lots of challenges to overcome. When you're developing a whole new website, there are daily challenges that come with that, right? And so, but the team's super hardworking. I think the team loves success. I love success. We love to win. We feed off of each other with that. The office is loud. It's not a quiet place. So when it's quiet, everyone's uncomfortable and feels like they need to turn on some music in the background or something needs to happen. It's been getting louder and louder, and that's awesome. It's a little bit of a rowdy place. Most of the time, it's not rowdy, but occasionally we have a good rowdy.
It's okay if it's rowdy. If that's your culture,
that's what we want. We want more of that. So. And then I think it's really student focused, right? It's really every decision that we make, we're thinking about students and teachers and parents and how it's going to help outcomes. And so we're very customer focused because there's nothing more meaningful. Like we're so lucky to be able to work with meaning. There's a lot of different things you could do in life, and training people how the progress has been just kind of an awesome gift for me to be able to do that for the last however long, at this 10, 15 years, however long that's been going on or longer. To be able to do that for students is so gratifying. So that inherently has built the culture just naturally of who we are as a company because of our mission and what we're trying to accomplish for students.
Rally around the teens.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
that's cool.
Sometimes teenagers, my own kids, can be a pain in the ass, for sure. But they are awesome. They are awesome people, and they're the up and coming generation. Without that feeling of like youth and energy, the world just wouldn't be the same.
Right.
So I think having presence of a younger audience. I've read lots of things of even when I 5 years ago with the millennial generation coming into the workforce, there's a lot of frustration and like these sensitive articles being written. I don't know what I'm not sure what the beef was about it. Yeah, they were different. We're all different, but not in a bad way. It was so energizing to the economy. I think
right.
I look at how many IPOs happened last year. And I thought, well, there's no more left. And this year they're already happening again. So like we're in February and they're all over the place. So I think it's brought a whole new kind of re-energizing factor into the economy. And I think that's really important. And to be so many VCs that are interested in investing in Shmoop, there's a lot of them.
Not a bad place to be.
Say half of them are. We don't want all of them, but but half of them all use Shmoop. Like when they were kids.
Did they really?
Yeah. So it's
that's amazing.
It's crazy to talk to them. We don't want all of them. We're going to want some of them for sure.
Right.
But we want people who can help us and kind of progress forward.
Right.
But it's like
it's a strategic decision.
It is.
Yes,
it is very much. But it's so cool to hear them and talk to them when they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to talk to you today because I used it when I was in high school." I was like, "Whoa!" Like for one, it does make you feel a bit older, but then two, you realize like that's the generation we were teaching are now talking to us about investing in the company.
That
like
is fantastic.
Holy, it's like wow, that's crazy.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
that would be fantastic. Wow. Okay, so. As an ed tech executive, what do you see in the future for education and technology?
Yeah, I see the landscape continuing to change. The concept of actually attending, the concept of attending college has changed for a lot of people. I think that was changing even when I was thinking about attending college. I had some friends that didn't do that,
Right.
Is it necessary? Well, obviously Steve Jobs have proved it's not necessary he went, he didn't, but like the concept of like that direction for people can just kind of be a different thought process. I think when I was going to high school in Chicago, you went to the high school that you lived in the district for or in the school boundaries for. Today, like just trying to decide which high school my kids went to was so overwhelming when I moved here because we didn't know the local school district, didn't know all the boundaries. It's like, okay, like which one do you want to go to? Because there's a choice of like 7.
Wow.
And then And then on top of that, well, you don't even need to go to high school. There's, you can get an online education, which I'm very well versed in.
Right.
And so all these decisions started to come to play. And so with people's ability to make that decision and to change kind of the direction, that will significantly change the way people not just learn, but the outcomes later on. Because if they're given kind of a crappy education, or they're in the wrong location, or they don't realize that they have access to other forms of education, they could really be holding themselves back. And so I think there's going to be a separation of people who really gain a lot of progress in their life and people who don't take advantage of it. And we had Malala come out to speak to us. She was the individual who was, shot in the head, point blank, for education, for reading. And you look at someone like that, and to listen to her talk about how she, is so passionate, like she would give up anything to be able to gain an education. And then you think about other people, like, that might not even want to go to school. It's not that they're dumb or that they're not appreciative. They're just not in the same situation. But those two opposite ends of the spectrum, I think it requires that we give them the same level of education, whether they're passionate about it or whether they realize it today or don't realize it today.
Right.
And give them access to be able to have, that level playing field, whether you're flying, Stanford grads in to tutor your kids, or whether you barely have enough food when you wake up in the morning, or whether you don't have enough money to eat breakfast before you go to school. I think we want to provide the best opportunity for all students. And I do think there's going to be a separation, however, that's, disappointing, of, kids that have the availability and access to learn and kids that just don't. I think that's happened globally. I would assume most kids are going to have more ease of access as technology builds, but there's a lot of work to do. There's like that 20-year and then that 10-year. There's the more immediate kind of landscape of change with people having options here in the United States. And then there's that global front of education, which we also plan on influencing as we're progressing forward. So, yeah, a lot of work to do, a lot of change. Tough to say exactly what's going to happen, but yeah, I look forward to influencing it as we progress forward.
That's great. I love that. Having everybody having the same access is one of my passions too. Yeah, that's great. And you are doing that at Shmoop, or you're moving towards it.
We are.
Which we love.
We are. Yes. Hopefully if we make enough money one day, we can start giving it away, to people who don't, that's something we would love to be able to do, is to give it away to people who just straight out can't afford it wherever they are in the world. So hopefully we'll get there. We're planning on it. So
Good. Okay, so last question. I like to ask successful leaders what their favorite tools are for keeping on track. So what is one daily tool that you cannot live without?
Well, of course, the phone. I don't think anyone... I think, like, it's cliche, but, like, it's the phone is your new computer. It's your new life. It reminds you what to do, when to wake up, when to go to bed, how long you're sleeping, like everything besides all the tools on there. I think from a tool perspective on the phone, Slack's become pretty important for us as a business. I mean, still absolutely use email, especially in the education system. Some people still fax us stuff, which I didn't.
What?
Yeah. We had to figure out how to receive a fax, but but that did happen.
No.
Yeah.
It's okay because I have to fax grades into the University of Washington. So yes.
There is technology
I can't
above
email them
fax. Yeah, I haven't heard of a fax machine since like 1998, but Outreach is another one for us. We use that to reach all of the teachers and students.
Do you use Slack?
Outreach.
Oh, Outreach. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's a tool to be able to reach people when we're trying to share with them who we are and what we do.
Cool.
And that's been an awesome one. And then I would say for us internally as a company, Magento too. Magento's been awesome from a front end. Marketing is really important. Getting your messaging out. Before last year, we didn't have a marketing team.
What?
Yeah, no marketing. It's
Are
just
you kidding me?
Word of mouth marketing.
Wow.
So getting the message out to people, it's all technically based now. So if I were to say my favorite tools, they're all going to be business related because they're going to be related to things that help us progress and what I'm passionate about. So I think it's crazy how much marketing has changed. We were creating training content for marketers at Pluralsight. And we would go find authors to help us, how to develop things, how to work in new technologies, how people look at websites, and how to heat map stuff, and all this different stuff related to data. But man, it's not no more flyers. Like hashtag no flyers, right? So it's not the same as
it was. Is not. I mean, I started a business when I was in my early 20s, and I remember the marketing back then. Facebook was just barely around.
Yep.
And now with my new business, or not new, but now it's just. It's so different. I mean, I had to learn it all over again.
Well, Facebook's old now.
It's just
like
Facebook. I know it's
not because we're like 3 layers deep, right?
But
so
I mean, like
crazy.
LinkedIn and Instagram didn't even exist back then. So
everybody's on Facebook. A lot of our audience is on Facebook and Twitter. So those are things that they're all on.
Right.
Like the Sky Schools have pages, on Facebook, and that's where they're communicating information. But yeah, I mean, even that is like somewhat, I wouldn't say antiquated, but it's been around for a while.
It
so
is.
Yeah.
It's the behemoth, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So, great. So, your bio says you just moved to the Phoenix area. What do you think about the city?
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It doesn't feel like a new city anymore. It feels like home. Honestly, it really does. Like the people, I really enjoy the people. We live up in Scottsdale. It's a great city. We moved in the middle of last summer, and some people say, "Oh, it's so hot here in the summertime." We love it. We loved it. So, it's really hot. It is really hot, but that's what a pool's for, right? So,
I know. And a boat. I have a boat too.
Yes. And
gotta get a boat.
Yep. And we're big wake surfing. We're a big wake surfing family, so do that. And it's right now. We were at the Phoenix Open or the Waste Management Tour last week. 75 degrees. We were sweating, walking around. So it's
in January, right?
Whatever it was, January 30th, and it's holy cow, it's awesome. So and then I think from a standpoint of employees and people, the people have just been awesome. So it's really been a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's very innovative, a lot more innovative than I thought it was going to be, and I love it.
Yes, it is.
Down here.
I think we've got a lot of work to do there, but because I think we have done. I look at a company like GoDaddy, and I think, okay, they've been around for a while, and they've had to kind of reinvent themselves and rebuild, who they are as an organization. And they're doing a great job. The concept of other entrepreneurs coming at a much more rapid pace, I see it happening right now. I really think we're in the beginning stages of it, because it's, finding technologists it's not impossible. It's not easy. It's kind of somewhere in between.
Right.
And it's starting to get more competitive. So more companies are coming in, which I love it. I think even though the city's really well managed, I think the governor's done a great job with managing growth and things. I think the concept of us growing, though, I think we're just getting started.
Oh, I
really do.
agree. It's booming.
Yeah.
It's booming. And I love working with, Karen works with entrepreneurs. We work with entrepreneurs and startups, and we love it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so I can't believe our hour is almost up. We need to start winding down. So I want to thank you so much, Andy, for joining us. This was such a great show. It was so great to meet you and hear all about Shmoop. What a great company. So just a reminder to our listeners that although this show is live, we do record and release them as a podcast. So please subscribe to The LURNIST Show on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, or your favorite platform of choice. And of course, I wanted to take a minute for VP MMA, or Veteran Project Manager Mentor Alliance. My husband and I are board members and are honored to give back to our nation's great military members and their spouses. We have a golf tournament coming up on April 19th at the Legacy Golf Club here in Phoenix. We have sponsorship opportunities available and spots left if you like to golf. So please go to thevpmma.org/golf to sign up and help support veterans, service members, and military spouses as they transition into careers in project management. We have also partnered with the ASU PM Networking Summit, which is held on April 20th. You can find the link to register for this on the VP MMA website as well. It's going to be a great 2-day event, right, Karen? Yes. And of course, thank you to our sponsor, The LURNIST. You can visit thelurnist.com for more information on how we can help you or your organization. So that's it for now. Thanks for listening. We will be back next month on the second Tuesday of the month at 11 a.m. Arizona time, whatever time zone that is in March. And on that show, we have Christian Nielsen, the Chief Product Officer at Uquelo, who will be joining us all the way from Denmark, and Dennis Bonilla, a lifelong learning evangelist. So be sure to tune in. And thanks again to our guest today, Andy Rahden. I really enjoyed having you on the show. Thanks,
Thank
Andy.
you so much.